Hi, this is Glenda, and today I'm making a pistachio macaron soup. I'm actually making two soups. One is going to be in this small container with to test this 1 ounce fragrance pistachio macaron from Lone Star Candle, and I'll be using the macarons as embeds on that one. And the second one, it's very similar. In both of them, I'm going to use this chopped pieces of soap. I had meant for this to be soap dough, but it went through gel phase, which created a hard texture, weird texture on it, so it really doesn't work as soap dough. So I chopped it up and I'm gonna use it as embeds inside the soup. And the fragrance for this one is gonna be pistachio and cardamom cake. They actually smell very similar in the bottle. I perhaps like this one a little bit more. I would have liked this one better if I could smell the cardamom, but so far I cannot smell it. But hopefully after I make the soup I can detect some of it. They both have a strong sense of vanilla. I mean I can detect some pistachio, like the pistachio ice cream. And I have here some titanium dioxide mixed with oils, and this will be for a portion that will be the frosting. Both of these fragrances have a strong vanilla. I think this one has more than that one, so they're gonna discolor. This one will discolor more, I think. And I chose this tip for no particular reason other than it looks like it's going to do something swirly. I'm not really good at piping, let me warn you. I'm gonna put on my face shield for this portion. I'm going to add a little bit of this EDTA to the light water. I probably should have done it earlier, just because of the vanillin content. And this is gonna get dark brown. I don't want a lot of soap scum that's brown. I added it to the light water solution, however, it is best if you add it before trace. So they're not at 105 Fahrenheit or 40 Celsius. This is the recipe I'm using. I'm gonna post a link in the description box. I did some adjustments last minute, so hopefully things turn out okay. It does have a 34% light to water concentration, so it's probably gonna move fast. I like to stir the solution before I use the stick blender for about a minute. I'm going to go ahead and measure the fragrance now. I will give it a quick stir and then I will start using the stick blender. I'm going to use it very sparingly. Well, like I turn it on for about 10-15 seconds and then I keep stirring it, and I alternate between these two. And it took about a couple minutes to reach emulsion. I lift up the stick blender shaft periodically to check if there is a light coating on it and if the solution in it is breaking apart or staying together, so that I can tell if it has reached emulsion or not. It's almost emulsified, but I can still see some traces of the oils when I blend on the top. Okay, I think it's mostly emulsified now. It's reached emulsion phase. So I'm going to split apart the 10 ounces that I'm going to use for the piping on top. And I hope that will be enough. And in here I'm going to measure out 20 ounces for the small mold. I'm going to add to the piping portion the titanium dioxide. I put, I think if I remember correctly, just half a teaspoon dispersed in oils. I'm going to blend this portion so that it reaches trace, and that way when I'm done with the soaps it should have thickened up enough that I should be able to pipe it. I brought it to light trace, and I think I should have brought it to medium trace at least now. Now back to the largest portion of the soap. This is going to be for the bigger mold. I'm going to add the fragrance and I'm just going to stir it in. On this one I'm using the one from Crafter's Choice. When I bought this fragrance, it was on like clearance. They were getting rid of it. So I don't think they carry it anymore. Actually, they do carry it, but only in like drums, so like a big quantity. However, they do have a pistachio macaron fragrance listed now instead of it, which may smell very similar. Because it is the first time that I'm using it, I'm only using a spatula to blend it in case it accelerates. I'm also taking the temperature of it, because usually if a fragrance causes the soap to accelerate, the temperature of the soap will also begin to rise. So far it's staying at 91 Fahrenheit, so it seems to be behaving well. Now I'm going to use the stick blender briefly. One is to make sure that the fragrance is well distributed so that when the soap begins to discolor, it will discolor evenly. Also, because I want the soap batter to be at trace, perhaps light to medium trace, since I will be using the chopped embeds. I don't want the embeds to just sink to the bottom, but if the soap has some thickness to it, they will be evenly distributed among the soap batter. Next, I'm going to repeat the same process with a smaller portion that I separated for the smaller mold. On this one, I'm using the 1 ounce fragrance from Lone Star Candle Supply, and I'm just going to first just stir it in, see how it behaves, and if it doesn't look like it's accelerating, I'm going to use the stick blender to bring it to trace. This has thickened up quite a bit. You can tell it's at medium to heavy trace. It looks like custard, like egg custard. So I'm going to put a layer of this first. Then I'm going to add the embeds. I want to check on this one. It's also at medium trace. I'm tapping them gently against the counter to make sure that any air bubbles that may be inside the soap can come up to the surface and dissolved. And then I'm checking on the frosting. It looks like it's gotten thicker, but it doesn't look like it's ready to be used for piping. It doesn't seem to be holding its shape, so I'm gonna let it sit for a little while longer. So I let this sit for about half an hour and I came back to check on it. It does look a little bit thicker and it seems to be holding shapes better, so I'm going to attempt to start piping now and see how it works out. I waited 3 days to remove it from the mold, because what I have noticed is that if I remove it from the mold and cut it the next day, even though the soap is firm enough to do that, it will still develop like a fine layer of soda ash. It feels like a dusty film on it, and I was trying to see if by waiting I could reduce that. It is kind of tricky to remove it from the mold when I have decorations on top that I don't want to get damaged. So I did put some bubble wrap in case it fell, it wouldn't get damaged. Unfortunately, my corners got dented, but I'm gonna try and fix them. I can put the soap back and smooth it in, and I think that should be fine. So for the next loaf, what I did is that I put it in the freezer for about an hour so that I wouldn't damage it by removing it.